I guess the asana, when we think of the asana in or the hatha yoga for the benefits, it's kind of, some of the benefits are very easy to be understood or to be seen, and especially now as we are, in through our journey, this sadhana for like 5 months, and we are some of us practicing yoga for even many years. So I'm sure we do experience, the benefits of hatha yoga in many forms. So if you begin with the physical benefits, so the for me, the one of the most amazing thing when I look at the yoga practices, teaching classes out there, the physical strength that the hatha yoga practices really help people to feel much more stronger. The strength of the muscles, the strength of our joints, the also the bones, and also the inner organs. It really improves it through also improving the blood circulation and then the energy circulations. Then the another benefit when looking out for into the hatha yoga practice is the actually flexibility, the mobility, and the coordination. So as through the movements, jatis, kriyas, and asanas, we really break out all the stiffness, the tensions, the old injuries that we're holding in, and then we gradually start to improve that sense of flexibility. As we all know that we lose what we don't use. So through your hatha yoga practices, the movement, the kriyas, you start to move the muscles up and down, all these kriyas we do. So through that movement, you start to improve your flexibility and the endurance of the muscles. But also we start to improve the coordination. One of the amazing benefit of the hatha yoga practice really is we suddenly start to improve our motor skills. And from the scientific or modern language, if you think of, say if I'm doing breathing in, I'm going to take my arms up, and breathing out, I'm taking my arms down. It's actually a two-way process. So the one, when you mentally or consciously thinking, I am going to breathe in and lift my arm up. So to do that movement, your brain has to fire all these messages to that part of your body to bring the action. But also when you're doing it mindfully, then your muscles, your bones, all those cells and the tissues are also firing the message back to the brain. So in that way, if you think that way, you're actually improving or enhancing not just the movement, the flexibility, but also the awareness and the coordination or this messaging between your body parts and your brain. And as another concept, we do have this adjustment concept in our body. So when we are in a chronic pain or a problem or something that we can't really do about something about it, then our body is honestly, when I think some of these ideas, is such an amazing system of this body that we have. So it has this readjustment or coordination concept. So say if you are struggling with a discomfort in your one knee, and you still love walking out and about, and you don't care about that knee. So what your body does gradually, amazingly, it shifts a bit more weight on the other leg, so it puts a less pressure on the knee that is hurting, so you can still go through that walk. It adjusts, and it also blocks out. He has this blocking system that the nerves that are firing, they gradually blocks it out, so your brain is not responding or experiencing that pain anymore. The pain it cannot deal with. It's like, it's very to, and I've known few people, especially when we live around people who are not very good in language, and the people you really love to the bits, and you kind of, that just because of their language or the way they talk and communicate, you can't get rid of them. And what amazingly we do, we block out a certain frequency, the certain language or the certain words they use. I've known some people, they can't say even the one sentence of I love you without few words here and there. But it's just when we're living constantly around those people, gradually our brain does not have much to process of that. And if suddenly someone new comes in, who does not have that language, they can like really feel completely different. And it's something, like when people ask me like the if I had any like a cultural difference. And I think because I grew up in a very typical sort of Hindu family, I was quite lucky. I don't want to say that it doesn't exist in India. We do have the language, we do have people, but somehow, I was like really lucky or blessed to be in a family where the swearing and so many of these words are not part of life. I would never hear them. And then I came here, and then, it's this completely different situation. And I've seen, even sometimes, the parents and then their children, they all are on the same dining table and we eating food, and there is no hate or there is no like anger or anything in it, but the language they would use, and I used to find like really offensive. And you're like, how can you talk like this to your parents? How can you use these words in front of? But somehow, as I understood, and when I start looking at some of these concepts, I think the brain completely blocks it out. It doesn't really process it. Then literally, maybe I was processing it. So our brain also has this system of blocking out or not processing or not experiencing things that it does not need to. But that actually, in our physiological way, when we think of our body immunity, our health, our homeostasis, or the healing process, it actually becomes negative. Because if your body, your brain, and your muscles are not communicating in a healthy way, it's not doing that impairing or the healing, the regenerating process. I believe, yeah.
If the brain has to work hard to block out those words that are damaging, is that damaging to the brain that it has to work so hard to block them out?
I would not say it's damaging to the brain, because that is the ability, and this is something, if we don't have that system, Jackie, we will go absolutely mad in an hour. That will be enough to like destroy our well-being. So think of, if all the experiences, all this sensory input we take, our brain has to prioritize it so it can experience something. So it's not really the damaging part of the brain. But when I was using that an example, but when we think of our problems, the stress, the tension, the pain and the injuries, the traumas that we hold, either it's a physical, mental or emotional, if we blocking ourselves out, even though we're not experiencing it, but because it's there, and it's chronically affecting your balance, your equanimity, and then the healing or the relaxation process. So in a way, if our brain can communicate with our fingers, and if the finger is having some problem, so it will analyze and it will send the messages to the right endocrine system, the hormones or maybe the chemical, the physiological changes to heal it. But if it's not communicating, then it's not doing that healing process. So in some ways, when we start to do this Hatha Yoga mindfully, consciously, this really enables the enhancement of what we call the peripheral nervous system. So your muscles, your cells, your body parts reestablish its communication with the brain. And when our brain can communicate, it will do everything it can to heal. It's like, in the night time, there is a time where your body is feeling tired, heavy, and it wants to fall asleep. And honestly, if you don't sleep in that 10-15 minute phase, you do something, go and wash your face or just watch a film or read something, keep yourself awake. Then it just blocks it out, doesn't it? It just does everything to keep you awake. And then people struggle with the sleep. So for me, this coordination, this communication we're talking about is to actually reestablish our biorhythms. So our brain, our mind and our energy and our time situation, the biorhythmic, this morning, evening, daytime, eating time, sleeping time, we want to reestablish that. That is the really amazing benefit of Hatha Yoga practice, where people sort of come out like, oh, I sleep so much better. Or when I'm walking around, I walk so much better. Or I feel I'm more aware. Even the little accidents and minor injuries that people go through, that actually Hatha Yoga practice can help preventing them. It's one of the word I know somehow I just never can say it. The proprioception, Jackie, you might be able to say it. You know, the awareness of our body and our limbs and the movement.
Like proprioception.
Yeah, proprioception. So it's in a way the yogic practice, the Hatha Yoga, can really help us to enhance that ability, that awareness. So that's another sort of really amazing benefit that we have. It also helps us developing our stability and concentration. As earlier, we were talking about when we are anxious or stressed, we're just doing all sorts of movements of our body and limbs and everything is moving around. And suddenly you stop that. So when you stop all those unnecessary activities, it helps you to stabilize your mind. Because as you know, we were just talking about our brain has the ability to experience a selective messages or the selective input that is going in. So if I'm talking to you and I'm also wiggling my fingers, and if I put the TV screen on at the back and then also play music going on, and also I'm worrying about something, there is not really much I can experience. There is not really much I can focus on what is actually going on. So that is, another thing, that through holding your body still, going through these practices, you're not only enhancing your muscular, your physiological, your organic health, but you're also enhancing the ability to focus your mind. Because when you slow down, when you stop these unnecessary physical activities, your brain has less to focus. And this is something, also you can experience in day-to-day life. Like in the morning you come out and everything is full of clutter. The first thing you feel, oh, I can't really focus, I can't pay attention. And then you just spend like a 10 minute or half an hour, tidy everything up, and you can sit down and you can actually focus in the work you want to do. So it's not just the mental, this clutter, this excessive input, you can even experience around you in your physical appearance. The house, the place we live in, the garden you walk out, wherever you go. So that clean, the tidy up space. So think of that way, you physiologically holding still to tidy up your focus, your concentration. So it helps to improve that stability, concentration of our mind and our senses. Which obviously, once you are focused, once you are stabilized, it helps you to feel balanced. It balances your mind or your emotional equanimity. It really brings that clarity where you can not only focus, but you can also be stable, be focused, be aware to that moment. And when we are aware, it improves our ability to respond, ability to actually make a choice. As you know, one of the concepts we talk about, this concept of fight and flight. The minute the stimulus, a message comes in, we react to it. So when you step back, when you slow down your physical, your mental processes, it also improves this ability to respond, not to react. It gives you your cortex brain, your hypothalamus, your human brain to actually make a choice, to decide what it should do. And it's something, in yoga we say, should really change our life, to transform ourselves in our day-to-day life or relations. He said always act and never to react. And this is where, if you think of holding a posture in a static manner, maybe you're feeling a little uncomfortable in forward stretch, but you're still holding it. So you're not just reacting, responding to it in a quick manner. I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. So in some ways, actually going through some of these vigorous postures without hurting, without causing injuries, it's also improving that reactive response, that I'm not reacting to it. I'm going to give it a minute, I'm going to hold on to it, or I'm going to go through my practice. It's a bit of that extra challenge actually empowers your control from your reptilian, your spinal response into your cortex, your human brain. So it brings that mental and emotional balance. And as you know, because you practicing or following the practice with your own inner choice, your own decision, hopefully that's the case. Not because I'm doing it because someone else is doing it, or because Nyandev is forcing me to do it. So when that decision that, oh, I wake up and do my practice because I want to do it. It's just amazingly, honestly, when that it comes from you as a practice, that yes, I ask Nyandev to teach me, but it's actually me practicing it. It enhances or improves this abundance of what we call the self-willpower, self-belief. And this is what, to me, when I look at like so many other practices, the skills we learn, and when I compare that with yoga, that's the like inside out change into the yogic attitude. The yoga is something you do, you choose. That's the only time you will say, I practice yoga. When you are the boss, you are the making choice, and then you can see someone, you can have someone who gives you the practices or the tools, or as a mentorship. So, we can only give you the tools. But also, amazingly, if you think about it, we can only give you the tools if you want them. Isn't it? So it's not even like it would not even work if you're not receptive to it. So if you think of that right attitude, the right mindset of I, that self in you that chooses to follow a path, to follow a practice, and then it follows it. And even that I empowers by saying, I open myself to learn, to see something different. And this is something, I experienced that, me and Deepika, like reading some of the homeworks and hearing when you guys talk back, when we open to see that we are here to listen, we are here to learn, then suddenly, even from those little talks, honestly, the amount we learn, so that I is opening up, that I is receiving, the receptive. So when you look at that, it actually gives you the abundance of this self-confidence, the self-willpower. I guess for me, in life, nothing is really better than thinking, believing, and then doing that. Obviously, our thinking, belief, and the choices have to be refined through some sort of moral or ethical virtues. It is like, if you are a really beautiful river, you follow the path and you meet with the ocean. They are so amazing. They're like so beautiful, and they actually sustaining the life, the trees, the forest, the plants, and everything. So to me, when I'm thinking of thinking, doing, and following is like that beautiful river, not like a floods. It's the water is the same in both of them. So when we say doing from that willpower is actually following the right path, the right channel of energy. So it becomes creative, it becomes enforcing and empowering. Otherwise, we become flooding water, and whatever comes in front going to be destroyed. So that self, that empowering principle in us, I think, I believe, I do, and I do consciously or mindfully. So to me, that's another really amazing benefit of the Hatha Yoga practice, that the self willpower starts to enhance, improve tremendously. You start to feel so much more confident within yourself. We have a little bit of discipline, I guess. Discipline, because discipline, the Anusasanam is the way to empower it is by repeating and going through things over and over again and again. And also, we need a little bit of push in day-to-day life, because it's very easy to fall into the laziness. It's very easy to find the excuse or the reason why not to do things. And I guess, once you get into the practice, get into the sadhana, it really improves that discipline principle in us, that we want to do all the good things again for our own benefit, for our own personal development. This is the whole self-empowerment. And through that discipline, I guess the natural sort of the inner calmness, inner stability. And when that inner stability comes in, lots of virtues become part of our life without even thinking. You know, when you are really deeply established or balanced in yourself, I believe you will have less and less tendencies of losing the temper, being angry or frustrated. And if you will be angry, I can tell you, you will be angry for a good reason. I have known quite a few people in my life, when they're angry, I know that there is something wrong and I need to look into it. You know, I had at least 2 or 3 teachers in my life that whenever they were angry, I never questioned it. I sat back and reflected in why did that happen. So, you know, I would not say that, you know, that you would not be angry or you would not be frustrated, you would not feel guilty, all these negative emotions will disappear. They will be there if there is a reason for it. And in some ways, you know, I personally think actually there is no such thing as a negative emotion in some ways when you look at them in an appropriate manner. You know, it becomes negative when it is there for a wrong reason, or if that emotion is not there when it should be. It's like, you know, I've known some people, they don't actually have the guilty principle, and they see it like, oh, I'm very spiritual, I live non-judgmental. But and you look at them like, well, actually what you're doing, what you're putting out, what you're sending out, I think it's better if you feel a little guilty about it, because that's where the right behavior begins, isn't it? So I think when I think about our life, actually in a right manner, there is no negative emotion. You know, if someone is stamping on you mentally or emotionally, and some point you lose your temper and you get angry, well, there's nothing wrong in it. Personally, for me, actually not. You have the right to stand for yourself and tell someone, as you know, Amaji says, if you're dealing with animals, you can't chant the mantra Om Shanti Shanti. Sometimes you got to have a stick to tell them that you are not walking in my territory. You're not going to be carry on this abuse. You're not going to carry on this harsh language or the way you're talking or doing things. So this, you know, the self-respect, the self-love, it really transforms from our unnecessary negative reactions into more positive, constructive, or the responsive actions. And that is to me the difference, you know, when we talk about the self-empowering balance. You will still have those emotions, but they will be your action. You know, there's nothing wrong in feeling sad, is it, if there is a reason to be sad? It is wrong when we are feeling sad for no reason. When we're feeling depressed for no reason, or when we're not taking the right action that should be taken in that moment. I've known quite a few people, they are so timid, and how many people take advantage of it. So even sometimes, you know, that the peace, if it's negative way, it's not protecting us in a right manner, in a right way, that also becomes negative. So I guess for me, these are some of really amazing benefits from the physical to mental, emotional and spiritual level. And then we can also talk about the energy movements and all that, you know, enhancing the energy flow, balancing your nadis, your chakras, to really empower our health and well-being.